Hello, I'm Rico Cavella. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging. And the title of this episode is The Prevention Revolution: How to Heal from the Inside Out. And our expert guest today, his name is Georges Cordoba. He's a holistic health and life coach, a functional nutritionist, professional speaker, Reiki teacher and practitioner, and hypnotherapist. All these are to provide more value for his clients. He's also an Amazon best-selling author for his book, Beating the Odds. It's his journey through holistic health to overcome advanced cancer. And that's what we're going to talk about today, which is going to be, I think, really helpful. So, Georges Cordoba, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Rico, for inviting me. It's an honor to be here and sharing with the world.
Well, you have a great story and a great message, and I know now you're doing some great coaching to help people deal with what you went through. So let's begin by just briefly talk a little bit about your journey.
Sure. Back 13 years ago, actually, not really, 2002 is when I was diagnosed. 3 weeks after my mother passed with cancer, I was diagnosed with an advanced form of cancer, melanoma, malignant melanoma. It
Hmm.
was already on some of my lymph nodes and very aggressive type of cancer. And I wasn't surprised because you know how the mind goes. I lost a lot of, I'm half Greek. My Greek family, I lost several. It's up to eight, including my mother, folks that passed from cancer. Not the same cancer, by the way. Cancer is not really hereditary. We will talk about it in a different situation. But in my case, though, nobody really wants to hear that they're diagnosed with cancer. And needless to say, you know, I played a lot of tennis. I'm an athlete. Played NCAA tennis. I served a lot in South America, and so I was in the sun a lot. And I thought that I got the melanoma because of the exposure to the UVs through the
Hmm.
years.
Hmm.
And it turns out that that was part of it, but all diseases are emotional and they start in acidic bodies. The thing though is that when I was diagnosed at that time, my oldest son was 11, my youngest was 7, 5 kids. We're blessed with 5 kids now. We're grandparents, and but you know it was an emotional roller coaster. I could not believe it at that time. I was a CTO. I was already working in technology as an executive, and and I had no idea what was happening. I couldn't even mourn my mother, but the bottom line is that it could have been my competitive spirit. I just said, "Look, you know, I'm going to beat the odds," and that's the title of the book. I'm going to beat the odds, be the very first person in my family that defeats this monster. And I went on my journey. In the beginning, like everybody else, the mind goes to what is familiar. So I took the conventional treatment route. I had no other alternatives in my brain. We are all trained to do that.
Hmm.
Needless to say, that was not working. I had my whole journey was 10 years fighting melanoma, 10 surgeries. I had metastasis of 8 tumors in my
Wow.
brain tumors, and two of them were not operable. They
Wow.
could not do anything with it, and so of those 10 surgeries, four were in my brain, four craniotomies, and but on year eight, real quick, on year eight, I was just fed up, broke. My insurance stopped out. We had to start tapping into 401ks, our IRAs, and you know, my our kids' college funds. I mean, we were broke. I actually transitioned out of that. I really was not productive as a CTO, so I told my boss and everybody that I will do a transition. So I was able to work from home for 18 months. But after that, um, really, I made a decision with my wife that I was just going to focus on healing. I was not going to, you know, let this thing beat me. And thank God, as a person of faith too, I realized when I had my first craniotomy, they gave me this pill. They finally said, "Oh yeah, we found this chemotherapy that penetrates the brain, and it's going to be in the form of capsules. It will be oral." So I had to take 5 Monday through Friday, then a break on the weekend, then Monday through Friday, 3 weeks. But on my second Monday, by the way, each capsule $1,000, and I was broke already.
Mm.
So broke, frustrated, and on that second or that sixth capsule, I really thought I was going to have a heart attack. I also had a panic attack or anxiety attack. I played the piano. I tried to do that. My wife was working, the kids in school. So it was very, very scary. I thought, man, this is going to take my life. And at that moment, I was already thinking, man, I gotta stop this stuff. And so when my wife came in, the kids were still in school. I asked my sister to come up, but she said, "What's going on? You look, what's going on?" I said, "Look, take me to church. I want to go to the chapel." And I went there. I surrendered. I cried my butt off for a while. And basically, I said, give me discernment. I'm going to stop. I'm going to go God's pharmacy and go natural. And I did, Rico, and here I am. This past July was my 13th year free of cancer. And 8 years ago, I made another leap of faith and basically transitioned from technology to health and wellness. And like I told you before, I'm an athlete. I learned how to visualize and do some mental rehearsing for competition during my competitive years. And I use that more so when I decided to go natural. And when I
Yeah,
made that decision, by the way, everything just came in. But I have to say, though, that my surgeons were all, especially the neurosurgeon, were second to none right there in Sylvester Cancer Center in University of Miami, Florida. If it wasn't for them, I would not be talking to you. I know this. And but what happened? What I learned when I went natural is that healing, my friends, happens from the inside out. It's not from the outside in. I've heard, and actually even you yourself told me that a few days ago. Um, really, it's a situation, and when we find out what the root cause is, which is emotional trauma that we accumulate, the lifestyle and the fast pace that we live in, and the way we eat that creates acidity in the body. And it's not only what we eat; it's we are when we eating. The average American chews 6 times before they swallow, and the stomach is not prepared to take a processed food. The digestion starts in the mouth with our saliva enzymes, and we're supposed to chew at least 20 times, depending on the food, even more.
yes,
Obviously,
yes.
if you have mashed potatoes, it's a different story,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
have, yeah. So, yeah.
Well, Alex, yeah, before we get into some of the actual things that you actually did, I just want to point out that the real point here for our audience is no matter what you're dealing with, there's an option. There's always solutions. You can heal because anytime we have any kind of a chronic illness or life-threatening illness, uh, it begins, like as you mentioned, it begins in our mental emotional state
Hmm.
because we now know from science, that
Yeah.
what begins in our mental emotional state manifests in our physical body. So that's the
Hmm.
first place that we always need to look and see what was going on in our mental state.
Yeah.
But but really, the message is that you can do it. You're a perfect example of that. You have a great story. So I just want our audience to know that no matter what's going on, you can heal. You can improve your situation. And so, talk a little bit about some of the things besides. Well, also your mindset was the biggest one, but what else did you do that you think really made the biggest difference?
Yeah, emotional clutter. It is interesting because I was speaking in Toronto, Ontario, and I met a holistic MD, a medical doctor, but he took the holistic route too after 4 years of not seeing results with conventional stuff. And we discussed. I received a book from one of my employees called Emotional Intelligence, and there was a chapter in there about the effects of our health when we do have this emotional clutters experiences from childhood or beliefs that we created. from experiences that were good or bad, but mainly bad. And this is something interesting because I share this in the book. Forgiveness is healing, but I worked on that. I read the book and I was open. I was open to find every tool I could to rid of the melanoma. And then later on in Ontario, I realized I've been told, and I wrote a book, The Biology of Belief, that emotions are producing cortisol, which is something that we produce, but in excess. If we remember from a song that we hear, or a movie, or you just pass by a scenery and you remember something, that stuff needs to be cleared out. And so here's something that I share in the book. The moment that I went and looked for people that hurt me, and two of them passed, but the other three were there. Can you believe that they didn't remember, hurting me, but they apologized. I forgive them. Then I actually made some mistakes. I mean, as a youngster, college and stuff, and I approached
Well,
several people that I thought I hurt. One remembered, but they all forgave me. And then I did the hardest one. I forgave myself, which is
mhm.
really the toughest one. But when I managed to do that, Rico, I never had another recurrence.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest.
Recurrence,
That's the biggest one. Forgiveness for ourselves.
yeah,
Well, George, we don't have a whole lot of
yeah,
much time left. Go again. So first, I want to let our audience know that you have a free ebook that offers some really good information, and we'll put that link in the show description where they can get that, and also we'll put the link where they can get a copy of your best-selling book. And then in the time we have left, I know you also do coaching for people. So just talk a little bit about who you like to work with and what basically you offer your
yes.
coaching clients.
Sure. I do two modalities. I do one-on-one coaching, and that I only do it for people that are going through cancer.
Okay.
I went through cancer. I found my own protocol, and obviously, I then backed it up with hypnotherapy, nutrition, and things like that. So that is a 12-month program, broken in four quarters. And if the person is ready to work and do the work, the action that I ask them to take, they do see some amazing transformation. And I have great success stories. The other one is a rolling program that I started in October, and that's all about prevention. As a matter of fact, I just got my trademark for the name of it. It's the prevention revolution, because your health is your most valuable asset. And in there, I see people as a very similar protocol that with the one-on-one. Obviously, I meet every week. Every week we do 90 minutes, and I do training and some other stuff that people love. We do visualizations. We work on some meditations of forgiveness, and it's all about preventing. Almost 7 out of 10 U.S. adults have a chronic disease today.
Yeah.
1 or 2 men who have cancer in their life, and 1 or 3. So those are the two main programs I have. I'm finishing an online course, so you can
Okay.
go.
Well, actually, yeah, we're just about out of time. Yeah, we'll definitely put all that information how people can contact you,
Yeah,
and I highly recommend it if you are dealing with cancer. You definitely want to get a hold of George's because he's a perfect example. He was able to heal himself, and I know that you can too. And I just want to say one more thing about the prevention thing, which is some really great work you're doing. Uh, even now, the Conservative American Medical Association will say that up to 80% of all degenerative diseases that are killing most people, heart disease, cancer, and diabetes, are preventable with a healthy lifestyle. And so it's all about that. And so I highly recommend that you get a hold of George's, and I know it'll be really helpful for you. So, George's, thanks very much for the information, and thanks for the work that you're doing.
thank
And
you.
thanks to our audience for being here.
Thanks a lot.